What's up, guys? I'm Jack, and this is Daisy. Daisy, come here. No, come here. Yeah. Say hi. Daisy, say hi. Okay, she's purring, but she doesn't want to say hi right now. Maybe later. And welcome to another video. So today, we are beating Elden Ring as a dragon. Now, I know I already did this video, but there are two different dragon items that you can use to turn into a dragon. There's the rock heart and the dragon priestess heart. So with both of these items, you're not allowed to wear any armor. But it does give you a little bit of damage negation. It's not much, but it's something, and it looks pretty cool. There is another reason to be using this item though. So the rock heart boosts all of your dragon communion incantations, which is every incantation that scales with arcane and that allows you to turn into a dragon. So like Dragon Maw, you get a big dragon head that comes out and bites your enemies. And the priestess heart boosts all of your dragon cult spells, which is every single lightning spell. And I do name my guy Tyson because every time we lose a fight, you're gonna have to see those cheeks. Yeah, so every time we die, we just get reset back to our normal form and we have to use the item again. Which is kind of annoying, but I mean, it allowed us to do that Mike Tyson joke, so that's pretty good. Anyway, what are the rules of this run? First rule, I can only use dragon cult incantations, and I have to be in my dragon form at all times. Second rule, I have to cycle through the incantation, so I can't just use Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike the entire time. It's way too good for that. Third, no damage buffing incantations. Fourth, no summons. Fifth, I have to get all DLC remembrances. And finally, no glitches. So we do have to grab a couple of incantations. The first one I grabbed was the Frozen Lightning Spear, and that is a really cool incantation that allows you to do lightning and ice damage, so you can actually get frostbite on enemies, which is awesome. I also grabbed the Dragon Cult Prayer Book, and the other lightning prayer book thingy, I don't remember what it's called, and took out Ancient Dragon Land Sacks. So at this point in the game, we have access to most of the lightning spells. I also stopped by Godfroy over here and grabbed the Godfrey's icon, because that boosts the damage of basically every single spell that we have. And we're ready to start the DLC. So there are a couple of new items that we can get in here as well. The first one that we head towards is the Scorpion River Catacombs. So I wouldn't be surprised if you hadn't been there before. It's kind of off the beaten path and in a very annoying area, but it does contain one of the best dragon cult spells in the game. It's also just like a really cool incantation. Now, as we're heading there, we have to run past these pests, and I suffer my first death of the run, barely 16 minutes in. So that's fun. And yeah, you guys are gonna see those cheeks quite a bit during this playthrough. Anyway, we did make it to the Scorpion River Catacombs, and it's here that I suffered my next couple of deaths too. Some were while exploring, and others were fighting the boss of these catacombs, which I didn't need to fight. So after realizing I didn't need to fight the boss, I head back and run through and grab the Knight's Lightning Spear from this side path in the catacombs. With that, I want to take on a boss, so we head towards the Divine Beast Dancing Lion first. And I put on the wrong talisman. I put on the Shard of Alexander here, which boosts the damage of our skills, but I meant to put on the Godfrey's icon, which boosts the damage of our spells. Whoops. Anyway, there are some things that we can do before entering every fight. First thing is we drink our Wondrous Physic. Second thing is if we use the Priestess Heart item again, that gives us our 20% boost to every Dragon Cult incantation for about a minute. And other than our talismans, there's one other thing that we can do to boost our damage. So the Ash of War Flower Dragon Bolt that's on the Priestess's weapon, this essentially increases the amount of damage that enemies take from lightning damage. So a lightning damage debuff. That's super helpful. And with everything that we can use to buff our damage, that being the Priestess Heart, Flower Dragon Bolt, the Lightning Scorpion Charm, Ritual Sword Talisman, Godfrey icon, and the Gravelstone seal, we get roughly a 465% damage increase when everything is active. And that also doesn't include buffs like Owl of Shabriri or Golden Vow or the Jellyfish Shield. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. So anyway, we fight the Divine Beast Dancing Lion, and our problem is actually just getting off attacks in the first place. Yeah, so all of these Dragon Cult incantations take a while to get off. For example, the Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike takes about 4 to 5 seconds to cast when fully charged. And as we know, bosses in Elden Ring don't usually give you 4 or 5 seconds to attack. And for those of you who don't know, Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike is one of the best incantations in the game, especially for larger bosses. It's insane. It's absolutely ridiculous. So it strikes a bunch of different times, and especially for bosses with larger hitboxes, each of those lightning strikes will hit the boss and deal a stacking amount of damage. It's ridiculous. It does take the longest to cast though, so it won't always be our best option in every fight. After all, getting off even a little bit of damage is significantly better than getting off no damage and being hit in the process. And I also want to mention how inconsistent Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike is sometimes. While it can do quite literally tens of thousands of damage per cast, it won't always be that effective. The lightning strikes won't always hit, and sometimes it'll just do 1,000 damage, or oftentimes 0 damage. All that is to say that while this build can be incredibly powerful, it can also be incredibly inconsistent. And that inconsistency led me to die against the Divine Beast Dancing Lion multiple times. I even tried out different incantations like Knight's Lightning Spear and the regular Lightning Bolt, but this is proving to be more difficult than I had thought. Watch this. Over 7,000 damage, and only a couple of bolts actually hit the Divine Beast Dancing Lion. Crazy stuff. Now, during these fights, our lack of damage negation is what really costs us all of the time and effort. With each hit that we take, we lose a lot of health. Hence why there's no low vigor rule in this run. If I had 30 vigor or less, I would quite literally be one-shot by every single boss in this game. Which wouldn't be fun. At all. No. So throughout the fight, I would try to reapply that debuff from the Flower Dragon Bolt, as well as rebuff myself with the Priestess Heart. Thankfully, those two damage increases don't really take that long to get off, so it's definitely worth it to keep reapplying them throughout the fight. And right here, we did get the Divine Beast very low, and we really just need one more Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. Okay, maybe 2 more Ancient Dragon Lightning Strikes to finish off the fight. As long as we don't get caught up in one of her attacks, we should be okay. Divine Beast down, and while that took more attempts than I thought it would, it wasn't too bad. Next we're heading up to Jagged Peak and losing to Ancient Dragon Man. But then we beat him, and then we beat him again. And instead of going up to fight Bale immediately, we're actually doing a little mini quest. So right up here we would normally take a left to go up to the peak of the Jagged Mountain, but instead we're taking a right to find the Dragon Priestess. So if we do Thialie's questline a little bit and get Thialie's concoction, we can actually give that to the Dragon Priestess right here, which causes her to fall into a deep slumber for a couple of days. However, we first must commune with the Ancient Dragons and grab the Ancient Dragon's Blessing. Then we go and grab Thialie's concoction and make our way back to the Dragon Priestess. Though we can't go at her side of grace, we actually have to go to a different one, make sure it's nighttime, and then run up to her. Once we do that, we catch her in the act of communing with Dragon Lord Placidusax, who is currently dead, and we drug her with the concoction, causing her to fall into a deep slumber. Now we can head up to the peak of Jagged Mountain. On the way, we take out a couple of dragons with our Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, and this is the best case scenario for this incantation. Using it right below a dragon absolutely destroys them. So, as you can imagine, it might do pretty well against Bale. So we ascend to Jagged Peak, grab the Site of Grace, use all of our buffs, and then go ahead and summon our good buddy Egon. He is always allowed in this fight just because I love him.
Curse you, Bale! I hereby vow you will rue this day. Behold, a true great warrior, and I, Egon, your fear made flesh.
So, the start of this fight didn't go too well, and I basically got hit by every single attack without hitting Bale with a single attack. And then I missed an Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. So that's not great. We already wasted like half of our healing, but that's okay. We just need one good opening. And that wasn't the best Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike I've ever seen, but not the worst either. That's okay, we can get a few more off. Look at that, over 10,000 damage with a single hit. Love that. And that's really the name of the game with Bale right here. We try to dodge his attacks, and then once we get a safe opening right underneath him, that's when we want to charge up and cast our Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. And yeah, for the bigger bosses like Bale, like Meta, we are going to be using the Lightning Strike, just to show off how powerful it can be. Right here, we got an opportunity to use it again. We almost died, but we did get 8,000 damage off, so that's pretty good. And Egon even helped us get a Poise Break. I think it's safe to say it's over for Mr. Bale right here. One more Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike takes him out for a very quick first try victory. After we defeat Bale, we can go back to the Dragon Priestess and grab the Dragon Bolt of Florisax. This is a really cool incantation. I honestly love it. So what it does is it increases all of our damage negation by 5. Literally just a free 5 points in every single stat, and it also increases our deflecting capabilities. It's really fun. So that just adds another buff to our pre-boss buff ritual. Anyway, we get to Rennala, and Rennala is actually in the water. And any boss that's in the water, or any enemy that's in the water, takes an extra 10% damage from all lightning attacks. It's quite literally free real estate. And Rennala is also not known for having the most health. Now in this fight, I do go for Knight's Lightning Spear as our main source of damage, and that's because it is awesome. Ever since its release, this has been easily one of the best Dragon Cult spells in the game. It's just Lightning Spear, but like 5 times better. The incantation is just super quick, it has a ton of range, and since it fires off at 2 separate times, it kind of tricks bosses who like to dodge your attacks, so at least one of these sets of lightning bolts will hit the boss. Did I mention it also just does great damage, or did you figure that out on your own? Rennala down. Next boss. So we head out of Castle Ensis and just go straight down to Morth Ruins so that we can make our way underground through the Bonnie Village and to the Sunken Chapel District in the Shadow Keep. Through this Shadow Keep entrance, we can actually find 2 different bosses, the first one being the Sunflowers and the other one being Commander Gaius. I decided to go for the Sunflowers first, and this fight was pretty interesting. So the Sunflower's big sunflower head has a massive critical hit multiplier. Extra Life says that the flower takes plus 50% damage, and the stem takes minus 66% damage. So yeah, hitting that big flower head deals a lot of damage. Now this weird yellow liquid that we're standing in technically counts as water as well, so It's free real estate, baby. And for this fight, I'm gonna ask you guys to not look at the death counter. This is a first try victory. We took the first sunflower down pretty quickly, and we got ready for the next one. I rebuffed basically everything. My extra defense, my extra damage, and with every time a new sunflower spawns in, we're gonna try to hit him with the Dragon Bolt. So I thankfully was able to parry the first charge attack, but then somehow got hit by the second too. That's embarrassing, but it's fine. And I get most of my health back. Now it's time to hit him with some lightning strikes. So for this fight, I decided to use the regular lightning spear. I thought it would be pretty good for this fight, considering, you know, we're aiming for his big sunflower head. And lightning spear is a pretty darn good way to do that. It's not nearly as good as Knight's lightning spear, but I mean, come on. We can't use that for 2 bosses in a row. That's not fun. It is a little bit quicker to get off too, and the damage really isn't that bad at all. I managed to get hit by like every single attack that this sunflower throws at us, which is totally fine. It's not even a problem, don't worry about it. But we are surviving and continuing on. Every hit from our lightning spear takes down a bit more of this guy's health, and eventually we'll be left with one more sunflower to fight. It's here that I want to mention the rock heart, the other dragon item. And my god, that was the easiest sunflower fight I've ever had. So with that item, you can buff Agheel's Flame. That's the attack that turns you into a dragon head, and you just spew fire breath out in front of you. And oh my god, I've never seen these guys melted so quickly in my entire life. Actually, I'll see if I can pull up a clip of that. Eventually we did manage to take down these Scadutree avatars, and this is where I learned that we really don't have much variety with the elements. We just have lightning damage, we have physical damage with our Flowerstone Gavel, and we have frost damage with that one frost lightning spell. It's a shame because I really enjoy playing to the boss's weaknesses, you know, changing up my build to suit any given encounter. But we can't really do that here, and I guess that's the point of a challenge run. Anyway, we make our way through the Cerulean Coast and down through the Deepstone Crypt, where I just get absolutely destroyed by some birds. And now we're on to the Putrescent Knight. And unfortunately, this wasn't a first try victory. But we buff up and we prepare the best that we possibly can, and begin this fight. You know what they say though, third time's the charm, and for this fight, it might have been, I don't know, I don't even remember to be honest, but we're gonna give it our best try anyway. So the thing with the Putrescent Knight is he likes to dodge our attacks. so that's why getting off our Flower Dragon Bolt took a few tries. And for this fight, I decided that I wanted to use Lansax's Glaive, because it does a really decent amount of damage, and it's just a really cool spell. It also has a relatively quick cast animation, so it allows us to get that off without too many problems. So it's important to note that this liquid that we're standing in, I don't think it counts as water. A good rule of thumb for figuring out if something counts as water when it comes to lightning attacks or not is whenever you use like a lightning strike, that lightning will then strike the water and arc outward in a circular fashion. And it didn't do that with the Flower Dragon Bolt, so I don't think that we get the 10% damage buff in this arena. So our safest attack opportunity is actually right after when the Putrescent Knight and his horsey friend dismount. At least that's a good one for Lansax's Glaive. There are plenty of other opportunities for the other spell that we're using during this fight, Honed Bolt. And this is just a weaker but also stronger version of the Flower Dragon Bolt. It's the same general idea. It summons a bolt of lightning at the target's location, but with the Honed Bolt you can spam it very easily and the damage is quite respectable. I decide to heal up here and go for a Lansax's Glaive, and that hits him with a pretty respectable amount of damage. We also dodge damage ourselves and can continue the fight. He's about half dead and we still have about half of our healing, so I'd say it's a pretty even fight so far. Another important thing to note is that our Flower Dragon Bolt debuff only lasts 20 seconds, so it doesn't really give us too many chances to deal that increased damage to enemies, unless we reapply it a lot. Another interesting thing about this Ash of War is that it actually increases the debuff percentage based on whether or not you charge it when you cast it. So it goes from roughly a 22% debuff to a 30% debuff, so it's definitely worth it to cast it if you have a chance. The Putrescent Knight takes us pretty low here, and we're forced to heal up after this attack. This would have been the perfect opportunity for some extra damage if we hadn't missed, but we still managed to get a Honed Bolt off, and once more we're taken down to healing range. We dodge attacks for a minute, and then a charged Ancient Dragon's Lightning Strike takes out the remaining third of his health. God, that spell is so good. Okay, we're going through the Shadow Keep next, and I want to fight Commander Gaius. So we go through the loft area, hop down an elevator, and we find ourselves at the Shadow Keep back gate where we enter the arena. You guys want to know something crazy? Probably not, but I'll tell you anyway. So in Sekiro, there's a somewhat similar fight to Gaius. He's known as the Blazing Bull, and it's just a bull that's on fire. And no joke, I have been stuck on him for like a year. That's just because I haven't actually committed to completing that game. I'll go on it every now and then for like 15 minutes, try that fight like twice, and then just quit because I don't really care to finish it. Which is really sad because I love the combat in that game. It is so much fun. I don't know. It's kind of pathetic, honestly. But for Commander Gaius, I do try Lansax's Glaive at first, and it does good damage to him. I just really wish that I had grabbed the Radahnn's Icon Talisman, the one that increases how quickly you cast your spells. That would have made about 95% of this run significantly easier. I did grab it at the end. I just wish I had realized I could have grabbed that sooner. After dying many times, I decided it would be in my best interest to use the Frozen Lightning Spear for this boss fight. Not only does it do 2 instances of damage if you cast it right next to an enemy, but it can also cause frost. which both deals an insane amount of regular damage up front, but also debuffs the enemy for all damage for a short period of time afterwards. And it has a very forgiving hitbox. Overall, a really good spell. And we're already almost halfway through this run. Isn't that crazy? These always go by so quickly. And this is one of my quicker runs too. I would like to beat this DLC within like 2 hours at one point, or all remembrances within 2 hours at one point, but we'll see if that ends up happening. So I am going to put up a poll pretty soon, and I would really appreciate some ideas in the comments of that poll. Essentially, I want to do a different game here soon, either Lies of P or Dark Souls 3, I'm thinking. And I just don't really know any good challenges for those games. I've beaten Dark Souls 3 a handful of times, and I've beaten Lies of P once, and I love both of those games. I just don't have enough experience with them to create good challenge runs on my own. So y'all's help with that would be greatly appreciated. Again, I'll put up a poll pretty soon that asks if you guys want to see Lies of P or Dark Souls 3 next. But any ideas for those would be amazing. What's also amazing is the sponsor of today's video. Me. Yeah, if you want to subscribe, that'd be sick. Okay, sponsor segment over. So for Commander Gaius, we managed to dodge a lot of his attacks, but we do get caught up in his charge attack quite often. Normally during this fight, I'm two-handing a weapon and using the deflecting hard tier so that whenever he uses that charge attack, I can just block it. But since we are using a weapon in one hand and a seal in the other, it's really hard to swap to two-handing the weapon and block his attack as soon as he charges it up. So we have to resort to just dodging the attack like normal, which I suck at. But thankfully we are able to survive a few of them, including this one right here, which we barely dodged. If that had hit us, we would be dead right now. A jab attack from Commander Gaius takes us down to, wow, barely any health, and we are forced to use up almost all of our healing flasks. We have one left, and hopefully that'll be enough to finish this fight. We gotta be close to a frostbite here, right? Come on. We get a few more openings, which allows us to hit him with a few more frozen lightning spears, and one more should do the trick here. As long as he doesn't take us out, we are super low on health, and we just need time to heal. Thankfully, we get that instance. We heal up to mostly max health, dodge a charge attack, charge up one more frozen lightning spear. He's not dead. He's not dead, oh god. We frantically back up trying to escape, do one more frozen lightning spear, and thank god, we finished him off before he could take us down. Commander Gaius is dealt with, we can move on to the next boss. And I'm going through the other part of Shadowkeep to get to Messmer. So Messmer is a pretty fun boss overall, and I think we're probably going to have some trouble with him, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not very good at taking him down with incantations or spells. And apparently I can't even take down his henchmen without dying. So we buff up and it's time to fight. Oh my god. What am I, stupid? My immediate thought is to use Knight's Lightning Spear against Messmer. His arena isn't too big, and it has just enough space for us to be able to get out of range of most of his attacks and charge up a Knight's Lightning Spear in relative safety and hit him from, again, anywhere in the arena. So this should be enough to carry us to victory. And while each attack doesn't deal a lot of damage, it does deal some damage, and the tracking on it is really good. Also, I want to mention that for this fight, I changed my talismans out a bit, so instead of going for pure raw damage with the Lightning Scorpion Charm and whatnot, I changed it to pure raw defense. So we are using the Fire Shield Talisman +3, I think, maybe it's +2. We're using the Dragon Crest Great Shield for physical damage negation, and we are using the Ritual Shield Talisman for more damage negation when we're at full health, which we almost never are. One of the things I've been surprised about throughout this run so far is the FP consumption rate. Throughout most of these fights, I've only been taking like 4 blue flasks with me, and they've always been enough to take out every boss. So far, the damage to FP consumption has been really, really good. I really thought I'd be needing to swap out all of my healing flasks for FP flasks, and so far we haven't needed to do that. I imagine we will with Radahn, because he heavily resists lightning damage, and he has a lot of health. But until then, should be pretty good. It's here that I also want to thank my members. Mary and Micah, you guys have been amazing. I love hearing from you guys every week, and yeah, thank you so much. And to everybody who's even made it this far in the video, you're amazing. And I hope everybody has a really good day today. Vesper almost destroys us here, but we are able to get back to nearly full health, and we do need to drink an FP flask too, which we get a chance to. Oof. Yeah, we got caught in one of his grab attacks, and I almost quit out there, but I decided to stay in, and we survived on a sliver of health. This is a crazy fight. Instead of healing, I go for a Knight's Lightning Spear that takes him into the second phase. We then heal up, dodge his first attack, and we get a free attack opportunity off on him. It's about time to debuff him, so I use a Flower Dragon Bolt and hit him with it, so he's debuffed for the next 20 seconds. Hopefully we can get some attacks off within that time frame, but we'll see. And we do. That does a pretty solid amount of damage. It'd be nice to buff ourselves again with the Priestess Heart, but I don't know if we're going to get a chance to. He summons his giant snake attack, and I dodge everything by the skin of my teeth, thankfully. Oh, good God. That attack usually takes me down. But we survived it, and we're actually doing pretty well. This is a good first attempt for Mesmer. But then again, that's usually how it goes for me. My first attempt is really good, and then every attempt after that is complete and utter dog shit. Okay, I'll take it. I will take that. Alright, with that done, it's time for some caffeine. So, we're gonna make some coffee, but it's very, very special coffee. Kind of. It's not really coffee at all. But we grind up some coffee beans and put them into our little espresso maker and brew up about 2 ounces of caffeine. Now after that, we can kind of just let that chill there for a minute, but we are gonna get some water boiling in a pot and put a nice big glass bowl over the top of this pot. And we're gonna add some extra dark chocolate chips to this bowl. And by the way, this is how you melt chocolate without it burning. Essentially, you don't want it on direct heat, else it will burn. So, indirect heat such as steam is the way to go. And I just put a random amount of chocolate chips in here, I wasn't really counting. We're also gonna add some cornstarch. This is necessary, it is such a helpful ingredient. We're also gonna add cinnamon and some cane sugar to this mixture. And after that, we're just gonna let it chill and get warmed up and start to melt. By the way, we're making Italian hot chocolate here. It's extra thick and creamy. Eventually, we are gonna add the coffee to this mixture. And once everything starts to melt, we are gonna mix everything together with a spoon. And we want it to be liquidy, but not too thin. We're eventually going to add some oat milk to it, and you can just add regular milk, you don't need to do oat milk. And we once again mix everything together. But it's still a little bit chunky, and it's not quite the consistency that I want, so we add more coffee, and we add more oat milk to this mixture once more. And this drink is going to be perfect for the cold weather that's coming up here real soon. As of the time of recording, it's right before Thanksgiving, and it hasn't gotten quite chilly yet down here, but we are in South Carolina, so it doesn't get chilly until like February. Once again, we mix everything together, and finally it's getting to a really good texture. Not too thick, but also not thin whatsoever. Finally, just gonna let it heat up a bit more so it's nice and steamy. Pour that into a little cup, top with some marshmallows and cinnamon, and enjoy. It was so thick and creamy and decadent, it was amazing. That being said, I could not finish the entire thing because, well, it's heavy, but delicious. Whole process barely took 20 minutes. I would definitely recommend giving this a try. So with Mesmer down, we go through the other way to go towards Ramana, and I just grabbed the next site of grace on this bridge, and then backtrack to go through the other way of Shadowkeep, to go through the secret entrance to get down to the Abyssal Woods to fight the Lord of Frenzied Flame. Yeah, the Shadowkeep really leads the way to a lot of bosses. So there's Ramana, Mesmer, Midra, the Sunflowers, and Gaius. That's 5 bosses that you get to through the Shadowkeep. So we make our way through the Abyssal Woods, my favorite place in all of Elden Ring because it is so spooky and I love the colors here. Sneak past some indestructible monsters and find our way to Midra's Manse. After that, the path through Midra's Manse is very quick and easy, and we fight a little monkey dude. I don't know where he came from, but he's not very difficult to fight. And with that, the Lord of Frenzied Flame has been defeated. So Midra's main weakness here is poise breaks. And we have a hammer, which does a lot of poise damage. So it's about time that we use this weapon that we haven't used, except for its Ash of War this entire run. And the deflecting hardtier is basically glued to my wondrous physic at this point, so we're able to use that to get some sick guard counters off and deal some massive poise damage to the Lord of Frenzied Flame. And this is one of my top fights to use the deflecting hardtier with. It is so much fun. That's why I decided to use the hammer for this specific fight. And I'm not gonna lie, I was really sucking during this attempt right here. I mean, look at how many hits I took. That's crazy. Just because I've beaten this game dozens and dozens of times does not make me a professional Elden Ring player by any means. I make a lot of mistakes. But we learn from those and we get better with every playthrough. And that's the point of these games, to overcome obstacles. I mean, we start off with nothing, and for the first couple of hours of the game, we just die over and over and over again to the most mundane of enemies, and then we start to fight these gods, and we lose to them too, but eventually we become strong, and eventually we win. Through a lot of blood and stress and sweat and tears, we fight through everything in our path and defeat every god that stands in our way. No matter how difficult the challenge is, we eventually overcome it. And that's what's so special about Elden Ring and its players. The sheer grit and tenacity that we possess is unbelievable. And honestly, I think these games have taught me a bit on how to not give up in real life either, and to just keep trying, because eventually we are gonna win. As long as we keep trying. As long as we don't give up. So, let's continue to parry this Lord of Frenzied Flame. Let's get some guard counters off. And let's get some ripostes on him. Let's take this guy down. Our hammer may not do a good amount of damage by any means, but it deals some damage, and that's enough. Every hit from our hammer takes us ever so slightly closer to victory. Though, every hit that we take from this guy takes out a significant portion of our health. That's fine though, because we really only need to hit him 1 or 2 more times, and that'll get a poise break, which might just take us to the dub. I mean, a riposte and a couple attacks as he's getting up, that should be enough. Okay, maybe not, but he's close enough to down that we can just spam the Ash of War a couple of times and finish this fight. And with that, we only have, 3 bosses left. Time to take on Metter, the Mother of Fingers. So we ring Finger Bell 1 and Finger Bell 2, go back and talk to Count Ymir, sneak underneath the secret passageway that's underneath his little throne thing, fight a Sword Hand of Night and destroy her pretty quickly, and then go to Metter for the fight. And oh, I've been looking forward to this fight. Metter has given me so many problems throughout my challenge runs, and Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike should be amazing against her. She is so big, she's standing in water, and we have so many ways to buff ourselves and debuff her. So this should be fun. I suppose this is a good time to mention the difference between the charged and uncharged version of Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. So the charged version is significantly better and more consistent. I don't know why the charged version does so much more damage, but it does. It just takes a lot longer to get off. But as long as we get 1 or 2 of those off, honestly, that should be enough to take down Metter with some good RNG. Yeah, 1 hit from the Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike charged up takes out 1/3 of her health. A second hit takes her down to half, and a third takes her down to less than 1/4 health. Ah, sweet revenge. Sweet catharsis. With 1 more charged hit from our Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, the Mother of Fingers has been destroyed very quickly and very thoroughly. Nice. 2 more to go, Ramana and then Radahn. So we head towards Ramana through the Labyrinthian Labyrinth, which, by the way, I just love the classical architecture in this area of the game, the Ancient Ruins of Ra. It's so Greek, it actually does look like the Labyrinth. It's amazing. I'm a big fan of Greek mythology, by the way, and especially classical architecture. I wish we had more of it nowadays, but it is what it is. We make our way to the Saint of the Bud Church, and here we buff ourselves up, and we're going to use a spell that we haven't really used yet. The Ancient Dragon Lightning Spear. We're also gonna die a lot. So I chose this spell for a couple of reasons. First one being that we haven't used it yet, so I want to get some use out of it. Second, well, it's just a very close range spell, and I really enjoy fighting this boss up close. It also does take a little bit of time to get off. It's not the quickest spell by any means, but it's not slow either. And with that said, we do need to get some decent RNG to make sure that we, don't die in between every attack that she does. She has a lot of openings, but our spell takes just long enough to get off that these openings aren't always safe. Oh my god, it's almost like 2 PM already. Ugh, I slept way too late today. I gotta go make some breakfast. I'll be back in a minute. You won't even notice I'm gone. Okay, I'm back. I made some bruschetta. It was pretty good. Anyway, Ramana. So yeah, whenever we had a second in between her flurry of attacks, we would try to get this off, and most of the time we were pretty successful. We oftentimes did take a little bit of damage, but that's okay. In between phase 1 and 2, we did rebuff all of our stuff, just so we could be more prepared for the second phase, and we also debuffed Ramana. this gives us a hefty amount of free extra damage on this boss. So, nice. This is also one of those situations where I'm not sure if the liquid that's at the bottom of this arena counts as water. So I don't know if we get the extra 10% buff here. Hi, Daisy. Here, say hi. You didn't say hi earlier, so. Perfect. But yeah, I'm not sure if we got the extra 10%, but that's okay. It really didn't take us too long to get Ramana down below half. Okay, yeah, that really didn't take too long. We did die a bunch, but it's okay. After Ramana, we can make our way through a near limb and all the way up to the Three Stooges, who weren't much of a problem. We did die a couple times against them, but that's okay. It only took us a few tries to finish them off, and then fight Radahn. And yeah, Radahn was pretty rough with this build. Even with Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, which did do a lot of damage to Radahn, we died a lot. So I had to look at Tyson's butt cheeks again. And again. And again. And again. Wait, what? And again. And yeah. I just sped through a bunch of the footage here. All of our attempts, we tried and failed many times, trying the Frozen Lightning Spear and the Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, and oh, it was rough. We even got him really close a couple of times, but it just wasn't good enough. And finally, I had the bright idea to get Radagon's Icon, a fantastic talisman. It essentially maxes out our dexterity. Not technically, but it maxes out how quickly we can cast our spells and incantations. And the best part about it is that there aren't any negative side effects. So it's great, and I wish I had grabbed it earlier. And my first attempt fighting him with this talisman didn't quite go as planned, but my second attempt went a lot better. So what did I learn through all of my failures? First and foremost, I needed as many healing flasks as I could get my hands on. Even with our damage negation talismans and the incantation, it wasn't quite enough, and every hit that we took absolutely destroyed us. So I learned that in order to have enough FP to take him down in his second phase, we would need to use our hammer during the first phase. I also learned that it only takes 3 to 4 successive attacks and or guard counters to break Radahn's poise with the Flowerstone Gavel, which is really, really good. And with that, I could consistently destroy him in his first phase just by guard countering and riposting. Yeah, his first phase with the hammer, super quick, super easy, barely an inconvenience. But it was his second phase that got more difficult. And that's because I didn't want to use the hammer for all of it, because I do so many weapon runs against Radahn. I thought it would be more fun to finish him off with incantations. And I would always start by proccing Lord's Divine Fortification for that extra holy damage negation, which is just so helpful in this second phase. And of course our spell of choice for this is going to be Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. There's no better option, honestly. Radahn is just big enough to where this spell can hit him multiple times and deal a lot of damage. And with the Radahn icon, we are able to consistently get off an uncharged attack in between each of his combos. And sometimes we were even able to get a charged attack off, and that would deal so much damage. The highest I've seen against him during this entire fight was 15,000. Yeah, 15,000 damage, and again, he heavily resists lightning damage. So yeah, whenever we get a good chance, we are definitely going to try to get a charged attack off. Like right here. And while it didn't deal 15,000 damage, it still did a really good amount. Anyway, I've talked enough during this voiceover. I will see you guys at the end of this fight. Enjoy. The Radahn icon really was a game changer with this fight. That made it so much more consistent to hit him with the Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. But overall, this was a great run. And you guys are seeing every single remembrance in this because, well, I did another run on this character earlier. But you won't be seeing that run until next week. Anyway, if you guys enjoy this type of content, I would love it if you would subscribe. But if not, that's totally fine. Your viewership is quite enough for me. Thanks so much for watching, and have a good one. Peace!